Hey, people, happy Friday, happy Friday, happy Friday, okay? It is Trending Topics Friday. On the train, pulled out the building late tonight because I went to class late tonight, okay? I had to go take my Pilates class, but I'm in the building. I'm here. We got stuff to talk about. The title tonight is Family Matters. Family Matters. There's a lot going on. It's going to be a little sensitive tonight. So if you want to bail out, I understand. But there's things we got to talk about. Family matters. So the Houston family, their monarch, Cissy Houston, died at 91. They said she was in hospice care because, she had Alzheimer's disease. But yet, they also claim, you see the lies people tell? But I think they're dependent upon people not trying to use their brain when they tell these lies. So they said that Cissy Houston, to her last day pretty much, was pissed at Bobby Brown. Pissed because Bobby Brown is responsible for, according to them, for Whitney Houston's untimely death. Pissed because they feel that Bobby Brown is the reason why Whitney Houston was hooked on drugs. Pissed because they feel Bobby Brown allegedly abused Whitney Houston. So they said Cissy Houston cursed the day that Whitney Houston met Bobby Brown. At the end of the day, as adults, at some point, we got to take responsibility for the decisions we made. May Whitney Houston rest in peace. May Cissy Houston rest in peace. But we got to take this thing a little bit broader and just talk about family in general. People need to stop. You can't force a person to do something. You can't. Unless you have maybe a pow or something to them and threatening them like that. But unfortunately, Cissy Houston, she kind of didn't want to wrap her mind around the fact that her own son introduced her daughter, the voice, to substances. And once Whitney Houston got introduced to said substances, she seemed to like them. And unfortunately, she continued. It destroyed her voice. It destroyed her life. It destroyed her first and only born child. And it was the demise of her. But for you to still be angry at Bobby Brown, it just doesn't make any sense to me. So we're going to talk about, misdirected anger. Misdirected anger. And sometimes and I don't think Cissy Houston should have blamed herself. And if she did at one point blame herself, she should have forgave herself and moved on. But to be mad at Bobby Brown, they said when you hold a grudge against somebody, it's like you taking poison and swallowing it yourself. It serves no purpose. You're never going to win by holding that venom against somebody. Let it go, move on with life, and realize that unfortunately, that was the life that your daughter chose. So he gave a very, what I would say, respectful message put out by him and his now wife to his ex-mother-in-law saying, rest in peace, in power. And the family was pissed. But we're going to talk about it. Family matters. Then we're going to talk about R. Kelly's daughter. So with these, I'm trying to see how I want to approach this. With these situations with, Diddy, allegedly there's all these minors that are involved. And you have to ask, where the parents, the mother, the daddy? How does a minor get in a space when an adult they don't really know, to the point where they're in that space long enough with that adult to get violated. Where's the parents? So you have, when it's your own household, Drea Kelly, she got a lot to say in these streets. Apparently, she's on this documentary that her daughter did, her daughter's journey, talking about her father, R. Kelly. And Drea participated in this documentary. And Drea says she's writing a book. And Drea says she will never let go of the last name Kelly. She's not going to revert back to her maiden name. And I was thinking about this a lot today, and I'm just like, They said money is the root of all evil. So I was married to R. Kelly. He gets accused, and he's currently behind bars for doing some seedy stuff, to say the least. But then my daughter comes to me and says, Dad touched me. Watch your words in the chat, people. It's you two. Watch your words. And I say, oh my God. My husband, your father, touched you inappropriately. Now, the daughter said they never went back after that day. She found the courage to tell her mother. But I'm thinking about this mother here, because the daughter says to this day she still suffers. And although she's about to give birth, she still got a lot of pain. And the daughter changed her name. Changed her name completely. The daughter's name is Joanne Kelly. And she completely changed her name. And I was thinking about this today. So you can, as the mother, for sure, revert back to your maiden name. Your ex-husband, who's behind bars, who your daughter said violated him, and yet you want to still carry this last name. We got stuff to talk about. Because, the world, we quick. And I'm not going to debate here about monster, not monster. The world has already hit the gavel on Diddy and call him a monster. And I'm not saying she's a monster, but I'm saying let's have a conversation. But you got a mother whose daughter came to her and said, Daddy touched me inappropriately. And you got this mother who will not release Daddy's last name, and she most certainly could. So what does this indirectly say to the daughter? I'm putting information out there because we got stuff to talk about. And yes, they said they went to the police, but apparently they said they went to the police too late and nothing could be done. It's a loaded conversation. But we're going to have to talk about it. Not judging Drea Kelly, but I'm going to give her the side eye because she could simply have reverted back to her maiden name and asked the kids, what do you want to do? Because if you want, we can all take my maiden name, go to counseling, and figure this thing out. But we're going to talk. Because Drea Kelly, she wavered in and out on this R. Kelly thing. And she, like many others, until the Surviving R. Kelly documentary came out, Drea didn't have much to say. We're going to talk about it. Tonight's topic is Family Matters. I dropped this on you on a Friday night, but we got to talk about it Because every now and then we got to get in the weed of stuff and talk about some real serious things. Because in our mind, we love to knock down and beat down on the door when it's in our face. But then when there's stuff, before it gets in our face, when we see it, we ignore it and act like it ain't happening. I'll throw this back out there for you. The Kanye West and his wife walking around with no clothes on, and him saying he want to start a pea company. Everybody just sitting back, saying that, Bianca's grown. Well, a lot of people in the Diddy case is grown, but y'all ready to dig the hole up in the ground and kick him in it. So do we have to wait till things just the top just burst open and pop off before we address it? We're going to talk tonight because the title is called Family Matters. So now we got this story. If you remember a few months ago here on my channel, there was a story of cousins at grandma's house. Whole bunch of cousins there. I guess grandma said, listen, send them to me for the summer. I'm going to give y'all a break. All the cousins there. And there's bunk beds, 2 up top, 2 in the bottom. Who knows what's on the floor and over there and over there. We don't know. But see, back in the day when I was growing up, remember, y'all, I'm 54. Back in the day when I was growing up, we went to grandma and grandpa's house. Did y'all catch that? We went to grandma and grandpa's house. They were still together. I know a lot of people don't think, family matters when it comes to a unit, but it does. Because if we did cut a fool during the day, my grandma said, you better get your life together, because when grandpa come home, you don't want me to tell him you was cutting up all day now, do you? And we got our little lives together. Because we didn't want to hear from grandpa when he walked through that door. They was at grandma's house. And the 8-year-old cousin and the 12-year-old at the time, she's 13 now, they had a situation over the iPhone. The 8-year-old was asleep. And the 13-year-old unalived her. She was asleep. Now, we were split down the middle before, but I'm still standing 10 toes down on this. You got to be another level of sinister. It's one thing. It is one thing. When you and your cousins, y'all fully awake and y'all tossing over a cell phone or iPad or whatever. Or you took my sweater. Or where'd you put my toy? But if I wait for you to go to sleep, I take sheets or whatever and my body weight. I put it over you until you're gone. Then I clean you up, reposition you in the bed, and try to act like nothing ever happened. All I can say is woo, woo, woo. They tried her as an adult. She's indicted as an adult. And they're looking to give this girl life in prison. Life. Family matters. Listen, when I was growing up, because cousins, siblings, we all get into it. But I'll tell you, literally 30 minutes before an hour later, we were all back playing together and having fun. And nobody remembered who took who juice and why we was getting into it and who took the last popsicle. And we also talked about how these electronics, these cell phones, the Instagram, the TikTok, the Facebook, is messing with people's mental. And the reason why they know exactly what happened to the 8-year-old is because it was on video. The grandmother, reminding you of the story, for some reason had cameras in the room. Now that's a whole problem in and of itself. The police out there said they never seen anything so horrific. And the police fought to have her trial as an adult. Because they said she went and got tissues and stuff to come back and clean this girl up. And because there's so much tension between the families, they issued a gag order on everybody. Everybody got to shut their mouth until this thing goes to trial. And Stephanie M., the mother of the young girl that got unalived, she wants every adult in that household to be charged. Just to give you a little more of an update, it was the daughter's father's mother. That's the house the young 8-year-old was at. It's sad. We got stuff to talk about. It's called Family Matters. It's Friday. It's late. But every now and then we got to talk about things, break it down, and understand the psychology behind why are we in this mess. The Black family is in a crisis. Forget about somebody else trying to tear us down. We're tearing ourselves down. We hiding a essay within our own homes. We hiding it. Daddy touch you, the cousin touch you, the stepfather touch you, mommy boyfriend touch you. Everybody wants to hide it. No, these individuals need counseling. Something traumatic happened to them. And me as a mom, my husband touched my kid. He's locked up. We're dropping his last name. I don't need to make a nickel, dime, or dollar or for no social media with his last name. I'm not doing it. My name would no longer be Drea Kelly. It would be Drea Brown, my government name given to me at birth. And I'm going to try my darndest to save my kids. We're going to talk. So listen, guys, hit the like button. Y'all know what I need in the chat because I'm about to bring the people in the building. We're going to have a real hard conversation. And if we help one person, I'm grateful. I'm grateful because we got to talk. So I thank you, Jeanette. I need you know what I need, Janet? You know what I need in the chat? Thank you, Janet. Thank you, Lexi. I need a choo-choo. All aboard, everybody. It is Friday night trending topics, and we got stuff to talk about. The title is called Family Matters. We got the Houston family. And this, just to remind you, the Houston family, born and raised up in the church. Cissy Houston, listen, if you dare go to that church in Newark, New Jersey and talk about Cissy Houston, they're going to cut you. But I'm going to talk about it tonight. Cissy Houston, born and raised in the church, knows about forgiveness, that you need to forgive. And the Bible says something about how many times you should forgive. They said 7 times, 7 times, 7 times, 7 times 7, or something like that. So what does that mean? You keep forgiving, but y'all got to understand, forgiveness doesn't mean I give you access back to me. Come on, Julian, 77 times. Forgiveness is for yourself. And they trying to tell us that Cissy Houston went to her grave not forgiving Bobby Brown. Well, did she forgive her son who introduced Whitney to the substances? R. Kelly daughter and the 13-year-old. Let me bring the people on in the building. Hold on now, everybody. Hold on one second. Let me bring the people on in the building. Hey, Katrina. Hey, Savannah.
Hey, Diva. Happy Friday. Cheers,
Hey,
cheers,
Diva.
cheers.
Hey, Felicia. Hey, E. Hey, Julius. April, you new in the building, but we welcome you. And hey, Dustin. Hey, everybody.
Hey,
All right. Y'all, just put yourself on mute. Hey, Dustin. While I bring up the first story, we're going to have to talk about this R. Kelly situation. Everybody, I need you muted. Okay, we're going to bring up the R. You know what? Before I get into the R. Kelly, let me deal with the Houston family. We're going to deal with the Houston family first, because Bobby Brown just simply made, I didn't think there was any disrespect to it. He just simply made a comment along with his wife to say, may Cissy Houston rest in peace. And the family lost their natural mind. Talking about how dare he saw in the room, Cissy Houston didn't like him. Whoa. What are you talking about? Because he was the one that introduced Whitney to the substances. But let me remind you, where Cissy Houston herself knew it wasn't Bobby. And maybe she went in and out because she was feeling a little guilty. And the brother himself said, I'm the one that introduced my sister to the substances. And it just got out of control. Let's take a quick listen. He told Lady Otis, hold on now.
So, you know, your mother writes in her book about how you were doing drugs with your sister. Your mother writes in Remembering Whitney, I was shocked and hurt and confused. I didn't understand it then, and I still don't. How does it feel to hear your mother say that?
It's painful. You know, I feel responsible for it. I let it go so far. Mm-hmm. You know, we were always, like you said, being together most of the time, and her following behind me. Mm-hmm. You know, I told her to drive. You know, we played together. You know, and everything that you do together as you're growing up, and then when you get into drugs, you do that together too. And it just got out of hand. You know, just drug is rough.
Y'all could go back and watch the whole thing if you need to be reminded. But he admitted, and Cissy wrote in her book that, you know, he started Whitney out on these substances. So I'm not understanding why the family is so mad at Bobby Brown. So let me go ahead. I hope this is, let me make sure I brought the right one here. Let me share screen again. So Whitney Houston's ex Bobby Brown rubbed salt in the wound of her mom, Cissy Houston's death by sending her devastated family love and peace tribute. Bobby Brown upset members of the Whitney Houston's family with his tribute to her late mom, Cissy. The KNews.com can reveal Cissy despised the Every Little Step singer for getting her daughter hooked on drugs, and she blames him for the superstar's death. His tribute on Monday, in which he said his love and blessings went down especially badly, according to insiders. A source stated Bobby should have stayed well away from sending this tribute. Why? That's his ex-mother-in-law. Cissy went to her grave despising him and believing he abused her daughter and got her hooked on drugs that ultimately led to her death. Now, these two were married for 14 years. He should have kept his mouth shut, as the Houston family want nothing to do with him. He reminds them of nothing but tragedy and pain, and his words just rub salt in wounds of their latest devastating loss. Cissy passed away at age 91 while receiving hospice care for Alzheimer's disease. This week, she took her guilt over Whitney's death to her grave, believing she failed as a mother to get her daughter off of drugs. Brown, who was married to Houston for 14 years, shared a joint message with his current wife, Alicia Etheridge Brown, to mark the passing of his former mother-in-law, writing, sending love and blessings to the Houston family on this great loss. May she rest in peace and power, the Browns. However, Cissy hated Brown, which made his tribute far somewhat with the Houstons. It has recently been revealed how much Cissy disliked her former son-in-law. A source told us Cissy died such a tragic death. Not only did she suffer through despair at losing Whitney and her granddaughter Bobby Christina, she went to her grave full of anger. Her ex Bobby got to live a full life, seemingly untroubled by the horrific treatment she knew he dished out to Whitney. It was such a tortured life for such a talented woman. Cissy never held back her feelings toward Brown, and she made it clear she blamed him for her daughter's death at Whitney's memorial service in 2012. Sources said a before service, Cissy told Brown, "I hate you. You killed my daughter by turning her on drugs. The day she married you was the worst day of my life." Brown called Cissy to ask if he could attend the private open casket viewing of Whitney's body at Whittingham Funeral Home in Newark, New Jersey. A source records Cissy reluctantly agreed that Bobby could attend the funeral, but she flatly refused his request to come to the private viewing. She told Bobby, "It's for family only. Whitney wouldn't have wanted you there. None of us want you there." Then she added, "And if you come to the church, you should know you're not welcome." This is a lot. Katrina, your thoughts?
This was a church lady? Really? How can you go? I mean, how can you have so much hate in your heart, but you want God to forgive you for the things that you've done, but you can't forgive another person? How can you carry all that weight on you? And Whitney was out there wilding way before Bobby came along. But the two of them got together and they were just an explosion. But you can't blame Bobby for Whitney, because Whitney had her own mind. Couldn't nobody tell Whitney what to do. You couldn't even tell Whitney what to do. So why are you blaming Bobby for the things that Whitney done? Even though they did them together or whatsoever, but Whitney knew what was right and what was wrong. But you got all this disdain for Bobby, but why you don't have that disdain for your son when your son was the one to introduce her to those substances? So you want to blame, you want to put the blame on Bobby, but you don't want to put the blame on your own. That's ridiculous and sad. Yes, they made some mistakes. From what I can see, Bobby pretty clean. Bobby's still living. And it's a sad situation, but how can you have all this hate in your heart and carry it along with you? And you want God to forgive you, and you want to come stand in front of him and he say, "Well, how can I forgive you when you didn't forgive this person?" So you carrying all that burden inside while you on your deathbed. And that family, they should be ashamed of themselves. It's especially, I guarantee you it's that sister-in-law, because she's over everything. I guarantee you it's her that's putting out these words. I don't think nobody else is putting those words out. Even though Cissy Houston probably said that, but Cissy Houston is gone, and he's paying homage to a body. He's showing respect. Maybe he shouldn't have said nothing, but why not? I was married to your daughter for 14 years. Even though you didn't like me, I'm still going to show you respect in your death. So that's totally, totally sad that they're saying that this man dishonored their Sister Houston. Sister Houston dishonored herself when she could forgive this person, but won't forgiveness herself. That's all I got.
I appreciate you. Savannah, you up?
Diva, I struggled to find out what Bobby did wrong. All he did was pay condolences, and for the family to come.
So, Savannah, you're on mute. You hit the mute button.
I'm
Okay.
so sorry. By showing respect to his ex-wife's mother, and it was no secret of Whitney's life before Bobby, and you know, the two of them They fed off each other. Out of Whitney's own mouth, she said during one of her interviews that they were physical with each other. It wasn't just Bobby that laid hands on Whitney as well. And if Miss Cissy felt any type of guilt for not saving her daughter, which is, I believe, what I read earlier, I wonder why she didn't put any energy or effort to try to save her granddaughter, who was also battling the same demons that her daughter battled. And that was no secret to the public, to anyone, that what Bobby Christina was going through. I think this is really distasteful of the family to put this out there. I don't know if it was Pat or the brother. I as well saw the interview back in the day with Oprah and the brother, and he never seemed to get any heat for being the one to introduce this into her life. But Bobby always did, because he was the bad boy. He of R&B at that time, and Bobby was hot. And they always thought that Bobby was beneath Whitney, because Whitney was the voice. She was the it. There was no one like Whitney back in until this day. And then Bobby was the bad boy of R&B, hot with "Don't Be Cruel" and gyrating and doing his own thing. But there was infidelity on both parts and physical altercations back and forth. And who couldn't watch that Bobby and Christina, Bobby and Whitney reality TV show? As dysfunctional as it was still, all I know, for me, it was always my secret indulgence. I loved that show. I love to see how they had this love and respect for each other, but they were I don't know, they were just funny. They seemed real in their struggles, but they did it together. So shame on the family, because he didn't do anything wrong but pay respect. And I don't believe that Miss Cissy went to her deathbed with ill in her heart for Bobby, because I don't think he was to blame for what Whitney went through, what she was doing to her own self before he even came into the picture. So, and the one that's missing out of this own story is Bobby Christina. And that's what saddens my heart.
Yeah. Thank you, Savannah. You're up.
Well, first of all, in my opinion, we can forget the drugs. The drugs was the cover up to numb a pain that Whitney could not articulate, in my opinion. And, what a heavy burden it must be to have this much greatness in you and still feel insecure and not good enough. I've said it before, rearing children up so strictly in church under a Bible that some people have not adequately read and understood themselves and researched the origin of, is dangerous. And I firmly believe, after reading Robin Crawford's book and watching the Lifetime movie, that Robin and Whitney never got the opportunity to really love each other the way they really loved each other. And Whitney wasn't supposed to be with Bobby. That's just my opinion. And the only reason Whitney held on so tightly to Bobby was to prove everybody wrong, that they could make it work. And the whole while, they were only fooling themselves. Whitney lived her life seeking her mother's approval, like many of us do. And on that same Oprah Winfrey show, Cissy sat on that stage after Whitney was gone and said she would not have accepted Whitney, as being gay. And as if that was really Cissy's choice. And I do think Cissy does have a burden to play in the unhappiness of her children to a certain point, just as Evelyn Braxton. And whatever was born in that house with those Houstons, the seeds of sin and the burden to live up to perfection surely outlived them all, including the only heir, as Savannah just said, Bobby Christina. And don't get me wrong, Bobby is all kinds of rotten and trash, and he is no angel. And let the truth be told, even with all of Whitney's vices, she was always too good to be with Bobby, and I don't care who's offended by it. Bobby abused Whitney in every way he could, abuse her in every way she allowed him. He was crooked. There are witnesses who attest to it. It's been printed in all kinds of books and magazines. Of course, Bobby cheated and dishonored his marriage, embarrassed himself and his children. So Bobby is no saint. And if you ask me for real, Bobby only released a statement about rest in peace because it was the politically correct thing to do, because he knew Cissy didn't fool with him and none of the family. And so I guess I'll wrap it up with this. I don't have a problem with the family speaking out and saying, keep it, basically, because they spoke up then and they're speaking up now. They didn't like you then and they don't like you now. If you really meant it from your heart that, Cissy should rest in peace, then this backlash will serve him no never mind. Ease on down the road, no love lost. If you did it from your heart, then rest in peace, Cissy Houston.
Oh, thank you, E. Felicia, your thoughts?
Hey, good evening, everybody, and thank you again, Diva, for allowing us to come up and talk about these very tough, difficult topics. This is one of the ones that's most heartbreaking to so many of us. We think about little Bobby Christina and what a horrific life she had to endure, and the lies that she was expected to keep. You had a guest come up once and said, secrets keep us sick.
Ooh.
And they kept that little princess sick.
Yes, it
So
did.
we're going to have some people up here who got comments about what we know publicly, but I happen to have known this family personally. Okay. And Diva's right. Don't go into Newark and go down to that church and say anything bad about Cissy Houston. Don't do it.
They'll cut you.
Don't do it. I'm going to tell you right now. If you got something negative to say, don't say it there. Don't say it in the circumference. Don't even say it in the neighborhood. Thank you, Eve, for your commentary. It's very interesting how when people want to, again, be salacious, be outside the box, they want to get into somebody's bedroom, they want to get into their sexuality, they want to talk about, yeah, that's what it was. Oh, no. Her brother told us what it was. Dion's cousin, somebody, was sexually abusing him and his sister when the mother and the father was on the road. Okay? And this is what Diva was talking about earlier, how we keep the door closed to the truth of what's going on in our own home, in our own household, how we're harming children, we're not protecting the kids, we're not speaking the truth, we're not finding courage, we're not finding the place to speak up and say, this is unacceptable. No. We want to, she wasn't happy because she couldn't be who she was. Nope. And because of that pain and trauma that they both were experiencing, they started to smoke the weed. And it was very early on. Whitney was about maybe 12, 13. And so it just grew into more and more powerful substances, and they became a part of her life. Loving family. And Whitney, yeah, she was that it girl. She had it all. Personality and love and charm and good looks and personality, best of friends. Okay. Whatever she was choosing to do in her personal life with her husband, I didn't agree. A lot of people didn't agree. But people in relationships every day, there's folks in this chat, folks on this panel in relationships that a lot of folks don't agree with. But that don't mean that they love you any less. They still love you. And they still hope for the best. So now moving forward to today, her son-in-law, in fact, her only son-in-law in the whole world,
shoot. Come on now,
sends out some good words, some love on her exit from here.
Mm-hmm.
And those mean, vicious in-laws, because that's what they is, in-laws. If somebody called Pat out, I'll call her out, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Still in the dirt, still in the dark, still angry.
Mm.
I know Cissy was a believer. I am a believer. And I truly believe when you leave here, you are in the presence of the Lord, and he don't give a damn about no record album.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
He ain't asking you about how much you left in the bank. Mm-mm. No, that's not what the criteria is. This is what I don't believe that's the criteria. And I know that Cissy knew that that was not the criteria. So I am not believing that that same anger and that same hurt that she had to deal with by some of her own decisions and her own choices is what she left out of here with. I'm going to trust and believe that she came to a place where she had to reconcile first with her children, her cousins, because I would gather her cousin and Dion cousins is all the cousins, or first cousin, a half a cousin, or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And all those people who harm and hurt her children because she trusted them and she wanted to be a part of this industry that we see 60 years later is still eating up the best of our people.
Ooh. Ooh.
So I don't want to hear the salacious-ish tonight. I'll just put it on mute when somebody coming up with the nonsense. But this industry continues to show us what happens when someone has a dream, they have a gift, they have a passion, they fall in love. Look how it tears up families to the grave and beyond. I'm done.
Thank you, Felicia. Wayne, your thoughts?
You know, it's easy to blame somebody else for your failures and all that. You know, when they got married, Bobby was 23, she was 29. And back in the day, you know, she was looking for a bad boy and she got one. Okay. I don't think Bobby got her hooked on drugs. I think it was the other way around. I think she introduced him to him. Maybe he had been some on, you know, maybe some like weed or whatever. But I think she got him into the drugs like that, you know, and then they just both became a pair, you know. I'm not gonna blame Bobby. And then I mean, I remember when they had her funeral and he came and there was some kind of disruption. But usually when there's a funeral or something like that, that's kind of like when people put all things aside, you know, whatever angers, whatever they felt, you know, and it's just a time where, okay, all right, you don't go there grandstanding or whatever. You go there, you pay your respects, and you move on. Okay. I don't know what kind of, I've seen one of their reality shows, you know, but I don't know what kind of relationship they had. But Bobby must have found, I mean, he's still hanging in there. He a little thick, so he can't be on too many drugs, you know. So I'm not, you know, as far as, you know, Cissy, whatever she said, you know, as far as about Bobby Brown or whatever, and they didn't want to come to the funeral, that's one thing. But as far as that, I believe Whitney Houston, she wanted a younger fella. Bobby was the thing at the time. I think she had some influence. And I don't think he was the cause of her getting on drugs. You got to take responsibility. You got to take responsibility. I was reading one of the, I don't know, it was a documentary or whatever, that they said when Whitney would get off the plane, she'd have her limo driver take her to the hood. And she was out the window asking people, you know, for the whatever, you know, the substances. Yeah. So no, that's all. That's just hearsay or whatever I saw on TV. But just my opinion. I think she's looking for a bad boy, and she got one.
And you know, I'll just add this, and I'm coming to you, Julius. Even if I just say, let me push aside anything that might have happened before, who said what happened, this, that, and the other. The ground I'm going to stand on now is for the family that is still here. Your monarch, Cissy Houston, she died. And the best you got is to come out and muddy her legacy by saying, because Bobby Brown said, rest in peace, he's throwing salt in the wound. You're messy. And you don't deserve to be the leader in the head of their whatever is left behind. Because you're trashing their name. They should have just said nothing. It just didn't make any sense to put that out in the atmosphere that Cissy Houston, who had Alzheimer's disease, somehow she always remembered to continue to hate Bobby Brown in her last days and moments. Why would you put that out there? It's messy. Julius, your thoughts? Julius, are you there? Okay, I'm going to move on. April, you're new in the building. What are your thoughts?
Hi, I'm still on mute.
You could come off of mute. What are your thoughts?
Oh, yeah, I just want to say my opinion on the Bobby Brown situation. To be honest, I feel like it's...
You have something going on in the background. You got to turn
I'm
it down.
sorry.
Oh, it's okay.
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
I just want to say my opinion on the Bobby Brown. To be honest, I feel it's nothing wrong with him saying rest in peace to Miss Cissy Houston and stuff like that, because that was his ex-wife mother and his daughter's grandmother and stuff like that. But I have to be honest, I believe that I'm only say allegedly, I think that sister-in-law Pat Houston, like one of the panels had said, I believe she allegedly might be behind this starting mess and starting trouble. That's my opinion. I must say allegedly. I don't know, but that's what I feel. Because, you know, Pat Houston, after when Whitney Houston died, they had that reality show. But I feel like that was too soon for them to have that reality show. And she wasn't even in the ground yet. And I think Pat Houston, she just want money. That's all there is to it.
I appreciate you, April, and thank you for coming through. I appreciate your comments. Espar, thank you so much for the super chat. There are a lot of fights that happen during funerals. You better tell the truth, because that is a fact. Okay. As she said, I think Cissy was mad that Bobby told so much about Whitney in his book. He told too much. Well, you know, there's always a rough balance, right? If I'm going to write a book, do I not have the right to tell my version of events if said events involve other people? I don't know the right answer to that. Some people say you have the right to tell your story, but other people say if your story involves another person and you didn't get permission from that person to talk about said incident, you should leave it out of your story. I don't know the answer to that. And Bobby, to be honest with you, I watched Being Bobby Brown. That was the beginning of reality TV. You know, that was some of the beginning of reality TV. And it only came on for one season because it was a train wreck. Before Being Bobby Brown, there were rumors about Whitney Houston's being on substances and being on it bad. I personally love Whitney Houston. I never believed it. But when I watched Being Bobby Brown, I said, OMG. Everything they said about Whitney Houston being on substances is true. They looked horrible as a couple in that show, Being Bobby Brown. Whitney Houston actually did it for Bobby Brown because he really wanted to do it. And that's when they had a mansion in New Jersey. They was living in New Jersey at the time, and it was in a mansion in New Jersey. it was just a train wreck. It was very sad to see being Bobby Brown and to see inside of Whitney and Bobby's life and Bobby Christina. Bobby Christina, she saw too much. And I believe that if they were not the Houstons, that Bobby Christina would have been taken out of that house by CPS in 2.2 seconds. But because they was the Houstons, Bobby Christina saw a lot, and unfortunately, she ended up like her parents. Tony, your thoughts?
Yes, Diva. Hi. Good evening.
Hi. Good evening.
For the most part, I think everybody on the panel has a good, valid point. There's positives and negatives. From what I remember back in history, Whitney Houston was already running wild, doing a whole lot of things. Now, we can go back to further history about trauma. Yes, trauma is bad. And I do believe Whitney did reveal she suffered trauma, okay, of the SA kind. That does not equal or equate the fact that still her personal orientation, I'm going to leave it like that, is not equated or equal to or blamed on the trauma. Human psychology doesn't work like that. So with that being said, she grew up in an era, as did Cissy Houston, where you weren't supposed to be, quote, of the opposite orientation. Okay, you weren't, or of the same orientation, rather. Okay, and it was never to be discussed. It was to be denied. And whatever your mother said you were, that is what you were. So if you were a little boy, you were supposed to like girls. If you're a little girl, you're supposed to like boys. That is the era that, unfortunately, a whole generations, every race has faced it. And in the Black church, it can be very judgmental. That's why I always hold out my arm, hold up my hand to any so-called Christian in the Black church who starts preaching what Whitney had to deal with. That's why she kept quiet. Didn't say nothing about her orientation because of fear and shame and rejection. Rather than learn to embrace and accept and explore. I believe she tried to do the right thing by her mother when she married Bobby Brown. Yes, there was a physical attraction. You could be attracted to both sexes. But at the end of the day, I believe both people were toxic. And to me, it doesn't matter at this point who got who hooked on what. It doesn't matter anymore. What's sad is that the generational sin went down to Bobby Christina. And 3 years to the day that Whitney had passed on, she passes on. In a near similar fashion as to her mother. So it wasn't right for in my opinion, for the Houston, well, Pat Houston to come out, because Pat Houston has been trying to make a buck off of Whitney ever since she was buried. Still trying to live off of the legacy of Whitney Houston rather than go out and just get a job, work 9 to 5, 40 hours a week, and go live your life. Still wanting to stay in the headlines. You're exploiting the late Cissy Houston, who was a great gospel singer in her own right. It's unfortunate that she wasn't recognized for her true calling, which was singing gospel. And she did have some success, minor success, but she could have, I think, had a much bigger, she could have been as big as Mahalia Jackson. And I grew up listening to Mahalia Jackson. So with that being said, I think I've said my piece, and I'll be glad to go back on mute.
Thank you, Tony. I want to say this. I think number one, that she had traumas, and I'm talking Whitney Houston. So how do we know which trauma trump which trauma? So it's alleged that, you know, it's, I was hearing like, just because she couldn't be who she truly was, that was the cause of a lot of her trauma. But could it be that because she was touched by a family member at a young age, that kicked off everything and all of the catalysts to subsequent trauma? So I don't know if it's just because she couldn't express who she was and because it was some strict Christian upbringing. There's a lot of people in strict upbringings under religion, period, and they still don't turn out to be this, that, and the other. When they want to do something, they still do it, even though they was raised. There's a lot of preacher kids. You ever know a PK? Talk to a PK. They got the strictest thing going on, and those PKs still did whatever the heck they wanted to do. So I'm not going to, you know, just say, oh, because it was religion, and because of this and that, and the religious people did this and that, because there's a lot of PK kids that do what they want to do. Perhaps it's because what we're going to roll into with this R. Kelly story, perhaps it's because she was violated, and as a result of this violation, a whole lot of other stuff went down.
So basically, she was self-medicating to kill the pain.
It's a possibility.
I got you.
It's a possibility.
That's true.
Because at the end of the day, the thing that we are kind of not like, and when I say we, I don't mean just a panel, I'm just talking about in general. The thing that is too hidden in this world is, one, these young children being violated and no one is acknowledging it, and everybody's pretending like life should just go on and don't worry about it. Well, it jacks up your mind in your life, and it even further does a mental thing on you when your protector, who is your parent, is telling you to squash that thing under the rug. So now who protects you in this world when the people that's supposed to protect you the most didn't even protect you? We got to talk about it so people can learn how to deal with it. And we also have to say that, you know what, whether it was your cousin, your mother, your uncle, your brother, somebody got to go to jail and get locked up and get punished so this thing will stop. So here you are, you wonder why little so-and-so is smoking, drinking, beating people up in the school, cursing the teachers out, and everybody want to act like little so-and-so is just a bad seed, when meantime, little so-and-so is getting violated in the house and everybody acting like the violation didn't happen. We got to talk about to the single moms out there. And I'm about to roll into this R. Kelly story. Watch who you bring around your kids. Some people like, I ain't going to stop dating. I'm not going to this. I'm not going to that. And 17 men done came in and out of your house, and your little ones are calling them Uncle John, Uncle Billy, Uncle so-and-so. Stop bringing random people around your kids that have access to your kids, because if they don't even like you and know you, they sure not going to give a darn about your kids. Too many kids are being violated. And too many kids are being violated by the individuals that their parent is bringing into the home. No, you will not be spending the night in my house, and I don't care if I got girls or boys. You're not spending the night here. You're not going to watch my kids. You're not giving my kids a bath. I don't know you. They don't know you. And you are not their uncle or their auntie or whatever. Hey, so Deb, you're in the building. What are your thoughts before I move to this R. Kelly story?
I think that what you said is very it makes a lot of sense, being a person who has been through those type of things when it comes to church, and being with a person who has been through I don't know the word to use so YouTube don't demonetize you, but you know what I'm saying.
Yes, I do.
It's hard to come out and say what happened to you. So when people are saying like, why you come out, why you didn't say that before this, it's hard to say those things. And I want everybody to hear this. It's hard. In real time, it's hard, because knowing that whatever your I think of the word I could say is the person who has took advantage of you, they tell you stuff that makes you feel like you can't say anything.
Facts.
So everybody that is hearing this, think about that. And you may not believe it, but it's true. I've been through this in my own personal life. It's hard. I waited until I was like 23 to tell my mom about what happened to me from the family. So it's not an easy thing. So just hear that part, what Diva is saying, because that's very true. People ain't popping up saying, oh, this happened to me because all of a sudden, oh, it's a money grab or whatever. We're talking about celebrities. Let's talk about real people in real time. It's hard to come out and say those things. Because one, it destroys a family. It destroys you as an individual, because you may lose your entire family. And you're on your own by yourself. So think about that. As a child or even as an adult, think about that. That's all I want to say.
I appreciate you for sharing, so Deb. I really do. And it is hard for people because, like you said, if I tell on daddy and we living in this 2-parent household, and now something happens to daddy, and now our economical status will drop, is everybody going to now blame this on me? And well, my siblings believe me, well, I be believed. What's going to happen? That individual takes on so much burden in they're swallowing their pain.
And you have to realize you're on an island by yourself as a child or as an adult. And so that's where you have to put yourself in that person's space. You're on an island by yourself. I told you this, and mommy, daddy, auntie, uncle, cousin, brother, whoever don't even believe you. So and I built the courage to say this. Now we're here. So then what do I do after that? Although it happened to me, what do I do? Because y'all don't believe me.
Thank you, so Deb. And unfortunately, a lot of people are not believed. And I don't know if they're not believed or if the parent or the whoever is being told just doesn't want to deal with it. So they roll with not believing it. It's a very rough and hard situation to be in. Very hard. It's even harder, and I'm not talking about the ones that are sketchy, and I'm not just talking about Puffy or Diddy or Sean Combs, but it's even harder when there's someone that was on top. Imagine trying to go and say that Harvey Weinstein did something to you. Everybody's loving him. He's the man on top. All these movies are happening, and you want to go say Harvey Weinstein did something to you. Who wants to deal with that?
Or who's going to believe you? Because you don't have any power in any of this stuff. They have the most power. They believe them more than you. So you have to take that into kind of an accountability that they don't believe you, they believe them. And so whatever trauma you've been through, it doesn't matter to anybody else because the bigger person matters more than you.
Whew. I appreciate you so, Devonair, and it helped me roll into this next story where R. Kelly's daughter, she changed her name from Joanne Kelly, and she pretty much said that her father touched her. As a result, and even to this day, she's going through a lot. She said that her father is where he belongs, behind bars. She tried to unalive herself. She went through a lot of pain and trauma as a result of what she said her father has done to her. Let me go ahead and share a screen so we can get into this story. So R. Kelly's daughter, I hope I'm pronouncing this right. She changed her name to Buku, says singer S8'd her as a child. I was too scared to tell anyone. And thank you again, So Debonair, I know he left, for coming up and pretty much saying this. You're too scared to tell anyone. So Buku Abby, I hope I'm pronouncing it right, tells her story in a new documentary, R. Kelly's Karma, A Daughter's Journey, now airing on TV streaming network. Somebody told me you had to pay for it. I ain't paying for another network, so I have to wait till it comes to some other platform. R. Kelly's daughter, Buku Abby, is speaking out publicly for the first time about the alleged abuse she suffered during her childhood at the hands of her father. The final minutes of the streaming network's new 2-episode documentary, Karma, A Daughter's Journey, which premiered today, claimed that Abby, 26, was abused by the singer as a child and first reported it to her mother, Andrea, in 2009 when she was 10 years old. He was my everything for a long time. I didn't even want to believe that it happened. I didn't know that even if he was a bad person, that he would do something to me, she says in the documentary, the first episode of which is streaming now. I was too scared to tell anybody. I was too scared to tell my mom. Though Abby, who was born Joanne Kelly, does not go into detail about the alleged abuse in the first episode. She says that she believed jail is a well-suited place for Kelly 57 to be, as she knows from her personal experience. I really feel like that 1 millisecond completely just changed my whole life and changed who I was as a person and changed the sparkle I had in the light I used to carry, she says. After I told my mom I didn't go over there anymore, my brother Robert and sister Ja, we didn't go over there anymore. And even up until now, I struggle with it a lot. The episode ends with information about delayed disclosure. And this, again, is something that So Debonair came up and spoke about. Delayed disclosure, which explains that many victims of child abuse wait years or decades to reveal what happened to them. In the second episode, Vocal goes into more detail about the alleged abuse, which she says happened when she was 8 or 9. I just remember waking up to him touching me, she recalls, crying, and I didn't know what to do. So I just kind of laid there. Hold on one second, guys. So I just kind of, I just kind of laid there and I pretended to be asleep. Vocal says she eventually told her mother what happened. And when they went to the police and filed a complaint as Jane Doe, but she adds in the documentary, they couldn't prosecute him because I waited too long. So at that point in my life, I felt like I said something for nothing. In a statement to People, Kelly's attorney, Jennifer Bogine, said Mr. Kelly vehemently denies these allegations. His ex-wife made the same allegation years ago, and it was investigated by the Illinois Department of Children and Family Services and was unfounded. And the filmmakers, whoever they are, did not reach out to Mr. Kelly or his team to even allow him to deny these hurtful claims. In February 2023, Kelly was sentenced in Chicago to 20 years in prison on charges of child P and enticement of minors for sex. The year prior, he was sentenced to 30 years in prison for racketeering and sex trafficking charges. Based out of New York, he currently is serving 19 years of his 2 sentences concurrently, and he will be eligible for release in 2045. The Ignition remix singer was acquitted of child P charges in 2008, after allegations had surrounded him for decades, people previously reported. R. Kelly's Karma, A Daughter's Journey, follows his family as they try to move on with their lives after his arrest and sentencing, and Abby prepares to welcome a child of her own. Kelly's ex-wife, Andrea, who finalized her divorce from the singer in 2009 and has also accused him of abuse, as well as their children, Job, 23, and Robert, 22, are also featured in the documentary, are as Andrea's parents, Clifford and Melissa. Part 1 of the series features Andrea's harrowing account of the night she left Kelly for good and took her 3 children out of the home they shared to her father, Clifford, who the kids had never met before due to Kelly's alleged controlling behavior. Abby says her life in their father's shadows was difficult, and she struggled with thoughts of unaliving herself. I just got to the point where I didn't care anymore. I didn't care if I lived or died, she says. I remember one day my mom and I went to Target and I had to use the bathroom. We went to the bathroom and she came out and I was washing my hands and she saw that my wrists were all cut up and she just immediately dropped everything. And she was asking like, what's going on? Are you okay? She was really worried. And in that moment, I broke down and I had to tell her like, I don't think I'm okay. I don't think that I can do this. I don't think that I'm going to make it through to live out the rest of my life. Meanwhile, all the parties interviewed in the doc say they're satisfied with Kelly's lengthy prison sentence. If you don't want to go to jail, don't do stuff that gets you locked up, Robert Jr. says. While John adds, you make your bed, you lay in it. Whew. It's a lot. And even with Diddy kids, I say also that it is heart-wrenching. I don't know what they saw or didn't see, but I do know what they're currently going through right now. They're living in hell. Katrina, your thoughts?
Like we said, R. Kelly's in prison now, but the ones that are around him need to be in prison as well. Drea too. While she peeping out the door asking, can she go use the bathroom? What you think was going to happen with your children? I'm not saying that her children was supposed to be set up to have things happen to them that way, but you had no order in the house. So by you not having no order in the house, how you going to protect your children when you couldn't even protect yourself? You allowed this man in there. You knew what he was doing. I'm not saying that he was doing to his kids, but now we know that he was. Allegedly, that's what she said, you know. But I'm just saying, she could even control her own life. So how she was going to protect her kids' life? And then another thing, we didn't even know R. Kelly was married until that Beverly Wives, whatever, that the Hollywood Wives came out. I didn't even know R. Kelly was even married. I didn't even know who this. I knew she was a dancer, but we didn't even know that he was even married to this lady until she went on this show. And like I said, these people knew exactly what R. Kelly was when they got with him. They knew exactly what R. Kelly was when they brought Aaliyah around. They knew exactly what was going on. And for her, she said she's going to keep her name. Oh, honey, be proud of that name. Don't nobody want it. You can have it. Like I said, you didn't even can't protect yourself, so how you was going to protect your child? And I know situations in that amount, in that manner. But I'm just saying in general, you couldn't protect yourself, so how you going to protect your child? He's where he needs to be. And I pray this girl get some healing. I pray that she go to counseling. Like so many words was told to different people here. I pray that that happened for her. I pray she gets some peace. And I pray that she don't take her own unaliving. Because that's not a good thing either. That's all I got, Diva.
I appreciate you. Savannah, your thoughts?
It's such a heavy topic, healing from childhood is such a multi-layered and complex process that, it takes a lot of self-compassion. And hearing his daughter's story over the past few days has been difficult, but not surprising, given with all his accusations and charges, because if we recall, Robert Kelly was charged with corn early on in his career, but he beat those charges, and he always had some type of S addiction, and and I'm not going to speak on what happened to him as a child or whatever. I'm going to try to focus on this young lady and her bringing to light the events that affected her and stunted her growth as a woman. And I hear her story and read that she tried to oh goodness, this is so hard, unalived in herself because of what the pain, and she didn't know what to do. She was so lost. And I recall that Drea Kelly also has stated that she tried to unalive herself because of all the PA that she was going through at that time as well. It just seems like there needs to be such a lot of healing going on across the board. And I'm not going to watch the documentary. I've seen enough of this story, like R. Kelly and Drea. I think sometimes she has another motive. I think this story should be just focused on the daughter and not all the other shenanigans and all the toxicity and negativity that happened in Chicago. I hope she overcomes this pain and she can help someone else be able to tell their story and survive. Because as you see, she's an adult now and she's able to talk about it, just like So Deb. He said that it was in his 20s before he was able to actually verbally say about his story. I really hope that her story really helps someone else that is going through a difficult time in their life. So tough topic. I just hope we can all watch our words and send her love and grace.
Thank you. E, your thoughts?
Well, whoever needs to get ready with the mute button, start tapping it now. Got to get you some hot cocoa. The mic is on. All aboard, everybody. First thing first, single mothers do have to be careful with who we bring around our children, but it's much more isolating when you have a child with a man you have to keep the child away from. And then there's so many people with these beliefs and advocating for men to be a part of their kid's life, even to the detriment of the child. To hell with that. Too many people have given these type of rotten fathers chance after chance. And when you violate your children, you lose access to them. That's the way it goes. That is how you heal and break generational curses. You have to cut it off at the head. And I'm really loving this buku. And I've been one of the few to say it on this panel consistently, that when a father is not honoring and protecting his family, drop his name. Like they drop the fries at McDonald's. I like it hot and fast. It's the best $200 you'll ever spend in your life. Now, I've said it over and over. It serves no benefit to walk around with the man's last name who you cannot pick up the phone and call in case of an emergency, or who doesn't think enough of you or your mother to keep his hands to himself and his dirt away from your front door. I don't give a damn who they are, where they come from, what they have accumulated, what they never will accumulate. This is not how you honor your family. And that is the greatest gift that a man can receive in this lifetime. That a woman and children wear his last name. It is an honor rooted and dating back to patriarchy and narcissism, excuse me. And this all started back in the 15th century, I think, when women had to take a man's last name, and it was inferred and written in the law that when a woman is legally married to a man, she became his property, and women had no autonomy over our bodies, and which is why it is so unheard of that Andrea is still walking around with this name, as you said in your intro, Diva, and just prancing around, singing the songs, and still, saying that this is her name. It's not her name. It's a symbol of ego, and it's rooted in evil. And the perception was back when this all started, when you take the man's last name and didn't get rid of it, is that you belong to him. This is why back in those days, there was no such thing as a man R-wording his wife, because the wife was considered property. Women could not even get a bank account in their name or purchase property. So when Drea is walking around like the great grand aunt of all the pick-me's from Illinois, what she is really saying inadvertently and blatantly is she values celebrity and notoriety that comes along with being attached to a man who has been accused of heinous and egregious acts. That is what I value. That is what she's saying. I value this name more than I value justice, more than I value my children, and more than I value myself. And I told y'all last week when we talked about this before, Drea and Robert are torn from the same cloth. If you look at Drea, look at her recent videos on YouTube, she's still dancing around half naked, still gyrating and doing it just like she was when she was dancing on stage with R. Kelly. Both of these people are out of control sexually, Robert and Drea. They're both morally bankrupt. Their children should have nothing to do with them. They're not a mother and a father. They're just an egg and sperm donor. And I feel like that's where this daughter is coming from by changing her name completely, starting over and rebranding herself with a new identity that is clean. And at the end of the day, Drea and Kelly, they should both be sharing that same cell together. Best wishes.
Thank you. Felicia, your thoughts?
I don't know. It's not clicking on. Oh, okay. I'm back.
Yes, you are.
Yeah, well, when somebody tells me to mute, I mute. Okay? Keep it moving. All right.
Choo-choo.
It's so unfortunate. Again, this young woman has come forward on a very public platform and said her very public father, she recalls molesting her. And we're having a rant and rave about somebody's last name. This is how I think and I believe we deflect. What's the problem here? Somebody in this chat, somebody on this panel is having that same exact problem right now. You may be in a relationship where you love this other person, this adult, and you suspect that they may be harming your children. And you're in a situation where you don't really know how to move. You're thinking about yourself, and then maybe you're thinking about them, your children. I would say to that person, these people, when you have your children, they come first. They ought to be the priority. And often, Diva, you say, well, look, if we got to pack it up and be in a studio apartment with no furniture and maybe we eating day to day, that's what we're going to do.
Come on now.
That's what we're going to do. We're not going to wait for you to come out of the bathroom and I see you sliced up to talk about what's happening. Babe, you knew what was happening. I believe that this young daughter is telling the truth. And I believe she had been molested for some time.
You say the M word, Felicia.
The M word.
Yes.
I just don't think she knew what it was. And she was sickened to her stomach. And when she told the story, it was so horrific that that's when it was decided we're not going over there anymore. Now, why would you send your children to the home of a predator? I don't know. I don't care what their title is. I don't know why you would do that. Why do you have unsupervised visits? Because their biological father, their biological mother. I don't get it. My heart is breaking for this young girl today. She came out and told the world a terrible, terrible violation to her. And all too often, we don't know what to do. So I encourage people, if this is you, this is your story, this happened to you, go get counseling. Start to learn the words that you need to find to verbalize the offense that was done to you or is being done to your children. And begin to make a plan to exit out of that situation. And you don't have to explain it to everybody. You don't have to cover it for nobody.
I agree.
And anybody who's uncomfortable with what your truth is, to hell with them. I have told you all many times on this panel, children are to be loved and protected. And whenever anybody, even right now today, you come into contact with mine, I tell you, these are my children.
Come on now.
And I now tell you, these are my grandchildren.
Come
and
on.
I'm telling you that because there is no fear here. They know they can come to me with anything. And yes, I encourage all of us to pause before we speak. Say, okay, baby, you give mom a moment, give dad a moment, give nana a moment. And then you go pray. And then you come back and you say, I believe you. Let's go get the facts. And you move forward.
That's powerful.
It takes bravery and courage and faith. So for all those who are going through something right now,
come on, talk.
I encourage you to get counseling, to find the words, to say what has happened or what has happened. And as I've said before, I just said it this week. Are you prepared to put a plate at the Thanksgiving table for the family friend predator this Thanksgiving? Or are you going to say it ends this year? Are you still going to aunties where we all know her husband is out of control? Will you risk your children being violated at a gathering because you needed to be there? And at minimum, do not open your door to a known predator. I don't care what their title is.
Come on now.
I'm done.
I appreciate you. Wayne, your thoughts?
You know, I agree with Felicia. And when you were telling the story, you know, this woman has nothing to gain, like, you know, monetarily. You know, when people try to come out with a story, some money attached to it. R. Kelly's in jail. This lady is pouring out to so those other ones, so those nobody else. Shoot, am I still alive?
Yes, you are.
Okay. So nobody else gets in the same kind of situation, you know, and I'm sure it took a lot for her to get it out. And I think with what Felicia said and with the story, it's going to touch somebody. Somebody's going to find a way out and get get in touch with, to admit it, to let somebody know that it's happening. Because that's the hardest thing, is to let somebody know.
More than you will ever know.
That's it.
I appreciate you, Wayne. April, your thoughts?
Hi. My thoughts is what R. Kelly ex-wife, was her name Drea. My thing is for her, why does she still have that man last name? And she should know by now he is a monster and a predator. And I feel like allegedly, I believe the reason why she probably still kept his last name from that's what I think. Allegedly. And she know he done all these things to these women and underage girls and stuff like that. And I wonder when she first got with him, I wonder what do she see in him, knowing do she know he's a monster?
Thank you, April. Tony M, your thoughts?
Okay, I am unmute. With regards to Buku, my heart goes out to her, and I hope that by doing this documentary, her life can serve as a cautionary tale.
Mm-hmm.
And going forward with the current generation and for future generations, before you can go get healing, the healing process begins when you file that police report. Now, there are people, and I've met them, both in the chat and on the panel, who don't like to go to the police, who don't want to take charge in order to get the corruption cleaned up. This has been a big hindrance I have found in all races, but when you focus on the Black race, this is where the injury to mental health and harm is first begins, because you don't report the offender so that the authorities can step in to try to help you get that authority off the street in order to get justice. While that is going on, seek the professional mental help that you need. But first, it begins taking pro-action, going to the authorities to do what you can do, all that you can do, to report the abuser. Don't wait 10 years or 20 years later to do it. The statute of limitations is going to run out. You have to be proactive before you go and get mental health therapy. So I hope Buku's story serves as a cautionary tale. I am very disgusted with R. Kelly. I have been for years, but this puts the lid on the coffin, the nail in the coffin for me. To abuse your own child. He will have something to answer for on his judgment day. He doesn't realize it.
Appreciate you. Thank you so much. Where am I at? So, Debonair, your thoughts?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Because they made me download a whole app. I was like doing all these things at the same time. So, okay.
Mm-hmm.
What I will say is this. I want people to stop saying, why you wait so late? Or why is it coming up now? Because it's damaging to people who have to wait so long. When I tell you the trauma that comes along with the things that go on when it comes to these type of things, it makes it worse. When you are trying to tell your story and people are saying, well, why you wait so late? Why you telling it now? Stop saying that. What I will say is this. People have a time where they feel safe to express what happened to them.
Mm-hmm.
And when they do, hear them.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's a time where they feel safe to say what happened to them. Now I'm speaking from experience. It's a time where they feel safe to say, hey, this happened to me. When they do, hear them and listen to them. It's in our everyday lives of people who have had things happen to them. And so my main thing is that, to say that. Stop saying, well, why you wait so late? Because right now I feel safe. Because the people that I'm around, this is a safe space for me. And I feel safe to say, hey, so-and-so did this to me. And I want y'all to understand that, because I said it at this point in my life, that's why a lot of us have been through a lot of counseling.
Mm-hmm.
We've been through a lot of therapy. We've done self-reflection. We've been through a lot with our own selves to understand that, hey, it wasn't my fault. Because a lot of people who have done these things to us made it feel like it was our fault. But right now, I feel like I'm in a safe space to say, hey, this actually happened to me. And I want y'all to hear this story. Whether you believe it or not, that's up to you. But right now, this is where I'm at. Believe it or not. So I won't put that out there.
Appreciate you. Thank you so much. In my opinion, you're in the building, your thoughts? Are you there?
So I had to clock in because here's the thing. I blame Drea. You are the parent. That girl was going to the doctor. Now, I don't know about the doctors where she stayed at, but the doctors down here check for those kind of things on a regular basis. And I had my kids around the same time she had hers. So if they were checking mine and I had boys, they should have been checking hers. So I blame her because before she divorced him, she was in this house with all these teenagers coming in and out of her house. She wasn't saying nothing in. She knew what kind of condition she was sending her kid into. You should have had an open dialogue where your kids felt like you were a safe space to speak. Never make your kids feel like you're not a safe space to speak. Because this is when this happened. They don't feel like they can tell you. They feel like they're going to be unbelieved. Are you going to take it another way? Are you going to dismiss them altogether? I can only imagine the pain. And to have to relive it all over again and tell her story and people try to take it apart. Nonsense. I blame Drea. She should be locked up with him. She's a demon too.
I appreciate you. In my opinion, we're going to roll right into the last story. I appreciate everybody for speaking and sharing. The last story, if I remind you, it was the unfortunate situation where a young girl, she went to her grandparents' house, and while she was there, unfortunately, she was unalived by the cousin. So I'm trying to just pull up the story. I'll go back. I'm going to let you hear her mother speak, and then we will go to the updated pieces of this story. So I'm hoping this is the one. Let me make sure I pull up the one where her mother spoke. And she has had a younger sister. I think this is it. But if it's not, I'll figure out which one it is and I'll share.
It replays in my head constantly. The phone call, the words. I just cried.
In Operation Crime and Justice, new information in the murder of this 8-year-old West Nashville girl. Police say Demaria Hollingsworth was suffocated by her 13-year-old cousin, who has just been indicted for this murder. Fox 17 News' Caitlin Miller's live in studio after speaking with this young victim's family.
Yes, Scott, a tough story tonight. I spoke with Demaria Hollingworth's mother and younger sister after the indictment. Now, the DA in Humboldt says that the violent attack while little Demaria was sleeping was caught on video. Attorney General Frederick Adrie says that this is one of the most difficult and brutal cases he's ever seen, especially between a 13-year-old and an 8-year-old.
Was she your best friend? 5-year-old Ramaya Hollingsworth misses her older sister, Demaria.
I like when she be helping me with stuff. And she makes my food. Sometimes we make each other laugh and we tickle each other.
Ramaya and her mother, Rihanna Smith, are wearing pins to remember Demaria. Humboldt police found Demaria dead in an upstairs bedroom of a relative's home in Humboldt on July 15th. Investigators have surveillance video that shows 13-year-old Lacquavana Parson using bedding to suffocate her young cousin. The video also shows Parson cleaning blood from the victim's face and repositioning the body under the covers. The mother, Rihanna Smith, is heartbroken.
I went there to protect her, and that hurts. because I always tell my kids I'm their protector.
Smith says both her daughters were staying with their father's mother. She wants to see every adult that was there charged. Smith believes everyone needs to be held accountable for neglecting her baby girl.
She was bright. She was intelligent. She was outgoing.
For now, the case against LaQuivana Parson is headed to trial in adult court as Rihanna Smith and her youngest child try to go on with a hole in their hearts.
Since the 13-year-old suspect is being tried as an adult, if convicted, she could be sentenced to a life in prison. In Tennessee, that's at least 51 years before becoming eligible for parole. Reporting from in studio, I'm Caitlin Miller, Fox 17 News, your Code Red station.
So sad. So the 13-year-old is going to be tried as an adult. Let me just pull up some more information.
Left, one juvenile being held without bond.
WBBJ 7 Eyewitness News reporter Brooklyn Kent has the latest.
LaQuivana Parson and Demiria Hollingsworth were visiting their grandmother in July. On Monday, July 15th, the Humboldt Police Department responded to a call and Hollingsworth was found unresponsive. In a video found at the home, Parson was seen smothering Hollingsworth and cleaning her body.
The grand jury returned true bill indictment for 1 count of first-degree murder and 2 counts of tampering with evidence regarding the murder of her first cousin, Demiria Hollingsworth, who was 8 years old.
District Attorney Frederick Agee says that this is one of the worst homicides he has seen.
The way the homicide happened is also very rare. We've had medical examiners reach out to us as far away as New York City and to discuss the case and to make sure that the medical examiner here in Tennessee was looking for certain things.
Parson, originally from South Carolina, is currently held in a juvenile center in Murfreesboro.
Being that the defendant at the time of this murder was 12 years old and now is 13, there's always a concern that the juvenile court may want to maintain jurisdiction. However, Judge Johnson found probable cause. He also found that this was the right decision to transfer the child to adult court.
A case such as this one is one of the youngest transfers from juvenile court to adult court in modern times.
Where the defendant, Parson, will have to come to Humboldt. Judge Peoples will read her indictment. We'll find out whether or not she needs an attorney or whether the court should appoint an attorney, and that should be set within the next 10 days.
Parson may face a life sentence along with the chance of parole if this case goes to trial.
However, because she's a juvenile and the law has recently changed, she would be entitled to a parole hearing after serving between 25 and 36 years with the Tennessee Department of Corrections. But that would be if we went to trial, if we got a conviction. Under the law now, juveniles are not treated as an adults when regarding first-degree murder.
Agee does hope that a case such as this one never happens again and asks for prayer for the victim's family.
Please keep Demiria's family, our law enforcement, and those of us that will be prosecuting the case in your thoughts and prayers. This is not an easy case. It's a tough case. It's a terrible, horrific homicide, and one that we hope we don't ever see again in Gibson County or the state of Tennessee.
In Humboldt, Brooklyn Kent, WBBJ 7 Eyewitness News.
Agee says this indictment by the grand jury was a majority decision.
Whew. Katrina, your thoughts? Katrina, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here, Diva. My thoughts is I think the mama and the grandmama need to be in jail and not the child. Do you know how much anger that child had to have inside of her in order to unalive that girl and then go back in and clean her up and stuff? She should be in jail as well. But when the girl called her mom should have called the grandparent and say, what's going on there, and check. I guess the grandparent could have went in the room and said, like, what's going on in here? What are y'all doing? You got cameras in there, so why weren't you watching them? That's some weird mess. Now these two kids are gone. One you'll never see anymore, and the other one is locked up when you go see her. When the parents and the grandparents should have stepped in from the get-go. Because if my child called me, I'm coming. And they know this. My grandchild called me, I'm coming. And they know this. Yeah, I tell y'all this all the time. Please, you get on me all the time. I'm coming. I'm going to be there. So I don't understand why the mama didn't call the grandmama and ask what's going on in your house, that my child wants to come home, or what's happening. You know, we all went to grandparents' house and all that. You know, her kids. My grandmama had 15 kids, and I had a lot of cousins and aunties and uncles. But what I'm saying is, yeah, we got together, we conjugated or whatsoever, but they knew exactly what was going on. And for that child to call and tell you that something is going on, and you didn't go and check it out, or you didn't call anybody to tell them to go in there and check it out. And now, like I said, 2 kids are gone. And the thing of it is, this child has the mentality of a grown person, because who would think to clean somebody up after you have unalived them? Most grown people don't even do that. So I'm thinking like this child is already full of anger, and she needed some help before now. All this over a phone, an iPad, or whatever. When you talking to the adults per a male on that phone that you didn't want the little cousin to go back and tell. It was that important that you had to get your iPad or your phone back. And I know, you know, they're addicted to these phones. Some of them can't sleep. Some of them can't go to school. Some of them can't eat without their phones. And that's a sad situation. With the iPads, you have little kids in the kindergarten or little kids in preschool know how to work an iPad or a phone better than a grown person. And what they're doing is they're letting these devices raise their kids. They're not raising the kids. And like I said, the grandparent and the mom need to be investigated as well. Even though the mom wasn't there, she should have made a phone call. She should have got in her car and went and got her child. If my child says she's not feeling right or something's not going on, I'm going to get her. But we'll see how this goes. It's a sad situation on both ends. 2 kids are gone because the adults didn't do what they were supposed to do. That's all I got, Diva.
Thanks. Savannah, your thoughts?
Diva, can you play it one more time?
The video?
Yes. Can you play it one more time?
Okay, but wait, which one? Because I showed 2 of them. I'll go back to it in a minute. I gotta pull it back up because I clicked out of it, but I'll pull it back up. But go ahead. Go ahead, Savannah. Yeah.
Okay. This story is difficult for me because I do not agree with the 14-year-old being tried as an adult, even in light of what she is being charged with, because it's clear that there's been neglect and dysfunction throughout this generations of family, because grandma felt that she needed to have cameras in bedrooms to record what we've always been missing that piece of the story. And I'm glad the law enforcement official cleared up that the law recently changed, because in Tennessee, it did change this summer that children at the age of 15 is when they can be tried as an adult. But there are some circumstances where they can be lesser than 15 charged. But the US is the only country in the world where kids as young as 13 have been sentenced to life imprisonment without possibility of parole. I feel that that's a cruel and unusual punishment for throwing a 14-year-old into an adult facility where she is clearly going to be not protected by anyone. And this child, because she's still a child, was clearly failed by many people in her family. And I find all 3 stories to be where children were not protected. With the Bobby and Whitney story, Bobby Christina wasn't protected, and for that matter, Whitney wasn't protected either. And in the R. Kelly story, his daughter was not protected, and now in this story, these 2 young girls were not protected and no longer here. So I'm not in agreement with her being tried as an adult. I think that's just cruel, and I struggle with the justice system where a child can be thrown into such horrendous conditions, because if we see these lockup shows that are on, and I've seen a few of them, I'm not a fan of them, but I've seen them. It puts kids at great risk of SA and physical violence, and it just increases their trauma. And I just think this child needs more help than just being thrown away. And that's all I got, Dima.
I appreciate you, but I want to throw this out there. What is the difference between this particular individual and underage individual that takes their pain out on an entire school? What's the difference? Should that person not pay for what they have done and be charged as if an adult? At the end of the day, R. Kelly was violated by his sister. When is the cutoff point to say, all right, I understand this happened to you, but I can't excuse you doing XYZ to someone else because XYZ happened to you? I'm just, I'm gonna play a smaller clip and then I'm coming to you, Felicia.
It replays in my head constantly. The phone call, the words. I just cried.
In Operation Crime and Justice, new information in the murder of this 8-year-old West Nashville girl. Police say Demaria Hollingsworth was suffocated by her 13-year-old cousin, who has just been indicted for this murder. Fox 17 News' Caitlin Miller's live in studio after speaking with this young victim's family.
Yes, Scott, a tough story tonight. I spoke with Demaria Hollingworth's mother and younger sister after the indictment. Now, the DA in Humboldt says that the violent attack while little Demaria was sleeping was caught on video. Attorney General Frederick Adrie says that this is one of the most difficult and brutal cases he's ever seen, especially between a 13-year-old and an 8-year-old.
Was she your best friend? 5-year-old Ramaya Hollingsworth misses her older sister, Demaria.
I like when she be helping me with stuff. Like she makes my food. Sometimes we make each other laugh and we tickle each other.
Ramaya and her mother, Rihanna Smith, are wearing pins to remember Demaria. Humboldt police found Demaria dead in an upstairs bedroom of a relative's home in Humboldt on July 15th. Investigators have surveillance video that shows 13-year-old Lacquavana Parson using bedding to suffocate her young cousin. The video also shows Parson cleaning blood from the victim's face and repositioning the body under the covers. The mother, Rihanna Smith, is heartbroken.
I went there to protect her, and that hurts because I always tell my kids I'm their protector.
Smith says both her daughters were staying with their father's mother. She wants to see every adult that was there charged. Smith believes everyone needs to be held accountable for neglecting her baby girl.
She was bright. She was intelligent. She was outgoing.
For now, the case against Lacquavana Parson is headed to trial in adult court as Rihanna Smith and her youngest child try to go on with a hole in their hearts.
Since the 13-year-old suspect is being tried as an adult, if convicted, she could be sentenced to a life in prison. In Tennessee, that's at least 51 years before becoming eligible for parole. Reporting from in studio, I'm Caitlin Miller, Fox 17 News, your Code Red station.
Felicia, your thoughts?
This story has been with me since we first talked about it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we talked about this in July.
Yes, we did.
I keep recalling showing up and Grandma got cameras in the bedroom. And I said then, and I say on it again tonight, as soon as we saw the cameras, I don't know why they're here, Ma. But they're not staying.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. We'll stay down here for a couple of days. We'll go on back home. Because if I got it right, there was a whole bunch of cousins up in this place.
A whole bunch of cousins. It was a whole bunch of, when the mother talked, it was a lot of adults there too. Because she said, I want all the adults charged.
And there had been a previous disagreement about the iPhone.
Mm-hmm.
And the older cousin got angry with the younger cousin, and there was a pushing and a shoving and a big fight. And the younger cousin called her mother crying and went into bed to sleep. And there was when this happened. I'm going to stand with Savannah tonight. I don't think this young person needs to be charged as an adult. There's a lot missing here. We don't know all the pieces. I believe this young girl here, she too is a victim. I noticed that her mother didn't say anything. The grandmother hasn't come forward.
They're on a gag order now, just to give more information, Felicia. They're all on a gag order.
Okay, so they're fighting amongst themselves over whose fault it was. I feel very bad for this mother. I heard what she said, that she's a protector. Well, you failed, Mom. I know. Y'all get mad. Go ahead, get mad. Come for me. She failed. The one thing I want to say before I come off of here, whether you're sending your kids to your family, spend some time, or a friend, or a camp, or a program, and shout out to Ava Goodman. I know some of you remember that story with the judge. The judge got demoted. Always let them know, that if you're not happy, I'll come get you within the next day. Don't let them think that they have to stay. And when the daughter called, the mother should have went immediately. She should have called. I agree with Katrina. You call the grandparents, whoever's in the house. I don't know what's going on. Something's happening. I'll be there tomorrow. Let me talk to my daughter. And hope that this isn't what you find when you show up. This is a heartbreak all the way around. I feel terrible for everyone in this family.
Whew. So Deb, you're up.
I want to say this. I think this is going to be a really harsh situation. I don't think that kids understand the capacity of life. I don't know if a lot of you guys know, but I'm a school teacher. And I hear a lot of things at work that they just don't understand that. So the situation is extremely hard to even listen to because I cannot even fathom what is happening at work. There's a lot of words I can't say on here. I'm trying to figure out how to say it without like demonetizing you. I have heard kids say things about they're playing games about taking advantage of other children. I think the generation of parents and children, like someone needs to step in and educate not only the children, but also the parents too. This is devastating to even hear because I cannot imagine going to work tomorrow and hearing this story. But also there's I won't say the I word. There's an uneducated, I'm traveling on my words. There's an uneducated thing that's happening with our parents and our children that are happening right now. We need to figure out how to fix that. Because this should never, ever happen. The fact that this child did this makes me feel this even more. This child is not educated in the fact that this is a possibility of, or maybe the consequences of what could happen. And then also, I don't think this child understood that what happened, like the end goal of this. You know what I'm saying?
I don't. I'm ready to fight y'all on this because I'm gonna say this.
Okay.
I've never in my life, cousins, sisters, brothers, friends, y'all. When I say fight, I mean I'm talking like y'all argue, y'all get into disagreements. I never thought when my cousin, brother, uncle, whoever friend fall asleep, I'm gonna go get some sheets, smother them. They said she cleaned up the blood off of this child's face, cleaned the child up. When it got stuck to clean this child up,
Mm-hmm.
if at any point she might have said, oh my God, grandma, nana, auntie, somebody come, I was playing with her, a mistake happened, now she's not looking good. She smothered this girl in her sleep. Didn't wait, give me a minute, didn't wait and got stuff and cleaned her up, repositioned her in the bed as if she was asleep, and then went to sleep herself. If it wasn't for the cameras, they wouldn't know what happened to little girl. So I'm not comprehending that this girl is just so innocent, and it was something that she saw, and maybe something was happening to her, that she go to the level that she unalives her cousin. I can't. My mind won't wrap around that.
I 100% agree with you on this.
Mm-hmm.
But my thing is this, because I do work with children.
Mm-hmm.
They're playing the R word game. Okay. And so to me, I feel like they're insensitive to like what real life look like and like the consequences of those things, because you have to think about like the schools they're going to, like they're pacifying these kids and there's no consequences to these things. And so they're watching television, they're hearing things, they're doing things. To me, I hate to say this, but like it's being normalized to them. And I hate to say that, because the conversation that we have at work, a lot of times I can see this happening and it's scary. And that's what I'm saying. Like I'm traveling around my words because I don't know who's watching this, and I'm gonna get trouble from work at all. But like these kids they're not sensitive to any of these things.
I get it. I don't want you to say anything either. I'm gonna move on, but unaliving is being normalized. Nicola, I'm with you. It just don't make sense to me.
It does not make sense, Diva. I will agree. It does not make sense.
Yeah,
like
this is your cousin, your family member. It was over a cell phone disagreement. She was asleep, and you thought it was okay to get the bed sheets, put your body weight on this little girl, and smother her with sheets. I'm sorry, I don't want you in the streets. Tony M, your thoughts? Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I think she definitely should be tried as an adult.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm also trying to figure out like where is this coming from, and like why are our kids? Because there are a lot of problems like this. Like let's not even sleep on this situation. There are a lot of kids that are learning things that are like we would never even think of these things, but I hear it every day. So I'm saying this to you guys, like who's hearing this. This is not like a not normal situation. These kids are learning things very early, and it's scary.
It is scary. Tony M, your thoughts?
Well, Diva, you saved me the ire that I was about to receive based on what you just said earlier.
Mm-hmm.
From a legal standpoint, and I'm going to go from the U.S. Supreme Court case in 2012 called Miller v. Alabama,
Mm-hmm.
where the U.S. Supreme Court ruled that life without parole for juveniles convicted of unaliving violates the Eighth Amendment. So the report said that at the bare minimum, the young the 14-year-old girl would face at least 25 years.
Mm-hmm.
So she would be eligible for parole in 25 years. I'm sorry, I disagree with the panel who don't want to see her tried and convicted and want others to be looked at and blame it on the adults who had all these children, which I didn't know about until now. There were several children in the home, I believe. Correct?
It was. Even her little sister was there.
And this is like a daycare, I assume?
No, it was grandma's house.
Grandma's house, but apparently grandma's getting all the kids to be looked after. Is that correct?
For the summer. But listen, I went to my grandparents in the summer. I did. It was me and all of my cousins. And before it was time to come back so we could go back to school, and different times, some of us left different times depending on where we live, because everybody doesn't start school at the same time. Nothing is wrong with going to grandparents' house. What went wrong here is, like Felicia pointed out, something was amiss, because who just naturally has cameras in a bedroom? The other situation was, which is not a whole lot unusual if all of these cousins are coming together. I don't know how big the house is. There's a gag order on all of them. They all got to shut their mouth because, as Felicia stated, there was infighting going back and forth between all of them, because you heard the mother say in the interview she wanted everybody charged, including all the adults that was in that house, because something went crazy in that house, right? So the problem is not really for me just the fact that the idea that a whole bunch of people are at grandma's. The problem is there was cameras in that room. That tells that there's some issues there, and that this girl did this to an 8-year-old. That's problematic for me. Go ahead, Tony.
I'm sorry, Diva. I agree with you. And I'm sorry, I'm going to just say it. The 14-year-old needs to be charged as an adult. The 14-year-old, if convicted, and I do believe
she's 13 and she was 12 at the time of the incident, about to turn 13.
Okay. She's a minor. Regardless, she needs to be tried as an adult. Sometimes in certain jurisdictions, a minor would serve their time in a juvenile facility up until the age of 18, and then they get transferred. And I think that would be a good mental segue, if you will, okay? I would not want this teenager thrown into an adult prison. I would not advocate for that.
Right.
But there still has to be consequences for your actions. And this person acted methodically. And that's what the prosecutor is going to harp on. I wouldn't even go to trial on this because there's evidence of the camera.
The camera speaks for itself.
Accept the plea deal that's offered. If you can get a minimum of 25 years, and I think that would be fair, that should be given. If the prosecutor wants to charge other people, that's down to the prosecutor. While you're incarcerated, this young girl should get all the mental health therapy available to her so she can rehabilitate. I advocate for that. But I will not sit by and then say, well, we should go easy on her because it was methodical, what she planned and what she did. And I have no sympathy for her right now. I really don't. And as far as I understand, we all want to go to grandma's house, but when there are too many people visiting grandma and grandma has to have cameras in rooms and can't seem to maintain law and order and peace, harmony with, I guess, people having different, I don't know, infighting, or I don't know. I really don't know the ins and outs of what was going on, but it sounds like it was chaotic. And this was not a good festering environment.
It was messy. It was messy. Let me move on to April.
Yeah. Well, can I ask a question real quick? I also want to understand what happened and why this happened, and not giving excuses to her, But like, there's a backstory to this, and there's also like why she like, how does she know how to do this? Why does she do this? What was happening? Like, there's so many questions that comes along with this situation, and that's my thing. It's just like dealing with children. Like, there's so much that goes on in these kids' households. And not saying that what she did, like she didn't know what she was doing, but because maybe she did know. But what happened in the situation, and why did this happen?
Yeah, we could get down to the why and the what and the if while she's behind bars going to therapy. April, your thoughts?
Yes. My thought is like that she was 13, right?
She was 12 when it happened, and she turned 13 soon after.
Okay. Now, my issue with the 13-year-old, I was wondering.
April,
A
are you
lot of
still there?
stress.
Go ahead.
Yes, I'm sorry. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, like the 13-year-old. I was wondering, since you said like the grandmother had cameras in her house or whatever. So the grandmother that had the camera in her house, was the grandmother was much older? Like how older, like order for her to have cameras, anytime. I'm like, is she that old or cannot provide for the grandchildren? Why is she having all those grandchildren in her house if you can't have no control what goes on in your household with all those children? And my thing is, with that 13-year-old, where's her parents at? And do they know she had those type of those bad behaviors? And I agree with the guy that said that he's a school teacher, and he was saying, what I agree with him. What would make him want to do that? I mean, what would make her want to do that? Do she have like a mental illness or something? That's what I was wondering.
I appreciate it, April. But you know what the problem is? Even when it comes to school, when it comes to everything, when it comes to the basketball team, the baseball team, the dance class, or whatever, a lot of parents want to be pretend like their kid don't have the issues that they have, and then they submit their kid to be around other kids, and then all kind of chaos goes about. I'm sure her parents knew something when they dropped them off at Nana's house, but you know what? They care more about, I'm gonna go party, I'm gonna be able to do this because I'm gonna be kid free for however many days, weeks, or months, or maybe the entire summer while my kid is with Nana. And now, as a result of all of that chaotic stuff, of me ignoring that my kid got issues and I'm going to send them over there anyway, and it's going to be around other kids, now a kid is not alive and the other kid is behind bars. It's a whole hot, flaming mess. My screen shifted a lot. Who did I not come to yet?
Diva, that's what you just said.
You didn't come to me.
That's what I was saying though.
And me.
Okay, so go ahead, E, and then I'll go to my bottom of my screen. Go ahead, E. Your thoughts.
Well, Diva, you and I are on the same car. I have to just be consistent. I saw in the chat someone said, we don't know what this girl been through. And that's true. We don't know what she's been through. And I don't care what she's been through. I don't care if she was 12 or 8 years old. It doesn't matter. I don't care how much this little person has been through in life. You have taken a life which did not belong to you. And like my mother told me, when you make grown woman decisions, you have to you have to deal with the grown woman consequences. That may seem harsh, but this is the new world that we live in. This is our new world. Today's 12 and 13-year-olds are not the same as when I was 13 in the 2000s when I was coming up, or when you were 14 in the 90s, 80s, 70s. Kids are more mature. They are more advanced. They have social media. They start practicing and exploring things at a much younger age. So it's not the same. And I think the only way to send a deterrent into the community to let other 13 and 14-year-olds or 12-year-olds know this will not be tolerated and it's not acceptable is to issue severe consequences, because so debonair is correct. They think it's a game, but it's not a joke. Okay, life is not a video game. And sometimes crooked branches cannot be straightened back right. I don't give a damn what this person has seen in their 13 years of living, what they heard or what they've been through. To hell with that. We must realize and stop saying, oh, they're just 12. Oh, they're just 13. No, they just took somebody's life.
You better
over
talk about
an
it.
iPhone. It's what they just did. They just took someone's life and tried to cover it up by cleaning up the scene, repositioning the body. This person's mind is beyond the scope of juvenile for 4 years, sealing your record because you're underage, and then getting the opportunity to start a whole new life and get out. No. Meanwhile, a mother just buried her daughter. This is egregious. And I will not make excuses. The reason bad behavior is normalized amongst the youth is because there are not real consequences in place. Folks want to legalize weed and normalize the OnlyFans, all kinds of crazy violence and explicit pictures on TV, the lyrics and the music. What do we expect from the children if this is the community? Girls in elementary school are watching the Zeus app, and at 8 years old, they want to be baddies. All they do on that show is fight and get naked. It's poison. And so, yes, this person should be tried as an adult, and every adult in the house should be tried, because somebody has to be accountable for what took place, because it's not enough that you had cameras in the house. You weren't watching the cameras. That's the problem. You had the cameras for a reason, but you weren't watching them. So send them all to adult prison, and they can all look after each other. Let them make license plates together. The biggest thing for me, forget what that 13-year-old has seen. A mother has lost her child, and to now look at the person responsible and say this person needs some help is a slap in the face to a mother who has to bury a child and still put the pieces together again to mother the one daughter she has left. It's unacceptable.
And boom, there it is. Can we get a shoot on that? Wayne, you're up. Did I go over to you yet?
No, but I'm going to pass because my opinion is much different from everybody else's. So I'll just pass.
Okay, appreciate you. In my opinion,
Wayne, we want to hear your opinion for real.
No, I'm good. Y'all keep going.
Share, please.
They want to hear your opinion, Wayne.
Okay. My thing is that, and I don't want to preach to y'all, but the Bible says all have sinned and come short of the glory of God.
Okay.
David put Bathsheba's husband in the front line so he could be unalived. This child is 13 years old. One day, this child's going to be on the streets. Do you want her on the streets as a predator? I mean, have we got to the point that, sure, I know, and I can say this because it's not my child, but it doesn't take away that I feel that mother's pain. That little girl, when she was saying how she looked up to her sister, so I feel it. But in reality, this person is going to be back on the street one day. I mean, do you think there's any redeemable qualities? Do you throw them away?
So, Wayne, I appreciate you for saying that. You know, over here, we love everybody to say their opinion, and I don't try to sway anybody. I just put my stuff out there too. So the confusion I'm having is, if she did this as an adult, we're okay with her paying the price. But so the reason why I'm saying this is because it's alleged, I don't know for fact, it's alleged that what Diddy allegedly has done to others was done to him. So no one wants to give any grace or mercy. When I said I feel for Diddy's children, I was told, well, the children are adults. There's no grace and mercy for the kids because they got money and they gonna be all right or whatever the case may be. I'm just trying to figure out, when do we give grace and mercy, and when do we say no, the person gotta pay for what they did?
Diva, I'm not saying she. I'm not saying that she shouldn't. I'm not saying she shouldn't. I think she should be prosecuted to whatever it is for. I don't know the law for what a child is for first degree or whatever. Okay, but she should be prosecuted under those statutes as a minor, I believe. I don't know. I don't know if it's a slap on the hand or whatever, but I'm quite sure it is something, you know.
They say that if she's tried as a minor, at best at 18, she's out. She gets out, and she's 13 now. The problem I'm having is the severity of the crime, and that law enforcement said whether a child or adult did this, they said it is one of the most horrific things that they ever saw.
I believe that.
You got an individual, and this is not a stranger, this is her cousin, her blood, that took sheets off a bed. That little girl that is not alive, the 8-year-old, she looked like a tiny itty bitty thing. She took sheets off a bed for her sleeping cousin. And they asked in another video, I just couldn't even show it, do you think the girl woke up? She puts these things in her body weight, the sheets in her body weight, over her cousin. So she is unalive. The girl was bleeding, and there was other stuff that the girl, messed up herself. She goes and gets tissues and stuff to clean her cousin that is no longer alive. Repositions her, puts the covers over her as if she was still asleep. So now this body is there until they discovered her the next morning, and they had to call the cops.
But how does she know how to do that?
Well, see, and I get what y'all saying, and I'm gonna let y'all live there in addressing on how she knows how to do that. But I'm gonna live at the space of she did it.
Mm-hmm.
She needs to pay for what she did. And I'm into rehabilitation, but I'm also into she needs to be tried as an adult. If she was so scared and she never stopped. Right. She did it until her cousin was gone. And then she never even had any feelings to go to her grandmother or someone in the house. I made a mistake.
Can I say that I 100% agree with what you're saying? I really do. I agree with everything that you're saying. But also, what is the backstory to this? Like, how does this girl even know how to do this? To me, there's a lot of things that have been taught to her that is unhealthy. And should she be tried as an adult? Absolutely. What she did, was it wrong? Yes. But why does she know how to do all this stuff?
Social media.
That's my question. Because when I'm looking at the kids that I'm working with right now, these kids know a lot of things that they should never even know at all. And so right. My thing is this, like, what she did was horrific. Like, I cannot even imagine a child doing these type of things. But this is a child also. So why does this child know how to do this?
The social media, and that's probably why she flipped about not having her phone. Let me go to, in my opinion, your thoughts.
Okay. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
You're okay. You're okay.
All right.
Okay, so I'm right there with you, Diva. Okay, I don't need to know the if, ands, the why, and I don't need to know none of that. But I will tell you something that I heard in this story that I did not hear before that makes my mind click on. The mama said She wanted all the adults gone, right? And she said the kids had to be there. So I'm wondering if the daddy stayed there and he got custody rights and she had to, it was his weekend or something, and the kids had to be there because the mama was real specific to let us know, she had this gag order that they had to be there, and that and she wanted all the adults tried.
Hold on, in my opinion, you hit the nail on the head. That mother said that.
She did. She said it, and when she said it, my brain said that daddy is there, and she must have had custody papers, and that was the reason why she did not come over there and get them kids. She did not want him running her into the courtroom talking about, I can't see my kids because she taking them from me. That's why she want all them adults in there locked up, and that's why they put that gag order on them, because they don't want people to know that big daddy is involved. Another thing is, we ain't heard nothing about why there are cameras in the bedroom, which further lets me know there's something sinister that goes on in this bedroom, and people need to see these cameras. Because first of all, you ain't putting no camera in no bedroom where my kids gonna sleep. They can undress or anything. Ain't nobody watching my kids undress. This is the most disgusting thing I've ever heard of. I don't care why this little girl is the devil that she is, because that's what she is. And if we're going to talk about the Bible, let's lay it all out there. In the commandments, it said, thou shalt not kill. Okay? So, period, bam, boom. Okay? I don't care why these demons exist. Everybody deserves justice. This 8-year-old life was cut short. This demonic spirit knew more criminals out here, okay? Because not only did she unalive this little girl, but then she cleaned her up and had the nerve to tuck her back in the bed like nothing happened, and she laid down with a body. That's some sick stuff, okay? I know grown people that can't lay with the unalive body, okay? So, man, I don't need to know why. I don't need to know how she knew. All I need to know is that they lock her up. And while she locked up, she can get all the help she need. They can ask all the questions they want to ask then. If they say she going to get 25 to 36 years, she'll still get out and still have some life left in her. But she needs to go.
I appreciate you, in my opinion. Nicola, that's what went on around my parts, okay?
Diva, is it okay? Can I say, I want to say my other opinion.
Yes.
I don't know if it's wrong for me to say this because I don't want to get you in, I don't want to get you monetized, and I don't want to get you in
Let's
trouble.
not say nothing that you don't even think you need to say.
Okay. But I just want to say this. I feel like, since that grandma, because it's still still bothering me that grandmother had that particular camera in that bedroom for some reason. As I'm wondering, is that house, do they have like a ritual? Do that grandmother house have a ritual going on in that house? That's what I'm wondering. To me, is that's part of the witchcraft, because that's something is not right with that situation.
It's messy now. I was trying to show, because they had a video. I couldn't find it. I couldn't bring it back up, but they had a video of the arraignment in the court. It was a disaster. It was a disaster. And that's why they all got a gag order right now. It was a disaster. It's a lot going on. I'm going to stay connected to this story. It's a mess, but perhaps just like now, some of these parents to these kids that went to school unaliving people, the parents are being charged. People in that house might need to be charged. I saw it, Emmanuel, on Instagram. I saw it on Instagram. Felicia, I'm about to close out. What do you want to say?
I want everyone on the panel and everyone in the chat to know that I don't believe in throwing children away. I believe all are redeemable, all are worthy. I don't know what was done to this young girl. Maybe someone in that house used to do that to her. Maybe that's how she was punished. Maybe that's how she was treated. I ask those who are very much about wanting her to be thrown away, to be put away till she's 69 or 70, to give her the grace and mercy. I extend grace and mercy to Mr. Combs' children. I extend mercy to all. I am deeply, deeply disturbed by some of the things I heard on this panel tonight.
Well, Felicia, I want to say that I assess every case on a case-by-case basis. And all I'm saying is that this individual, I don't care what you see in social media and even in your house, to have the wherewithal to take your 8-year-old's cousin's life, reposition her body, and then lay next to it.
Diva, we don't know all the story. We don't know who else may have lost their life in that house. We know there's cameras, but we don't know. And that's where grace comes in. It's unmerited. You extend it until you know. When we move to have a case where we don't even want it tried, we don't even want to hear the facts, we don't want to know the truth. We just want to send this young girl into a system that's not going to rehabilitate, is not going to make her well, to just throw her away. And when, like Wayne said, she'll be back on the street.
There's a video.
The video, I recall the video. We didn't see all the video. We'll have to wait till court, right?
The police saw the video, though.
And we need to see it too, don't we?
I don't want to see that video.
Well, I want to. I'm not going to do a Gloria Allred and say, hey,
I'm not about doing a Gloria Allred, but police saw the video and said that even if this was an adult, it is one of the most horrific things that they ever saw. They asked for us to pray for everybody, the family, the prosecutors, the police, everybody that saw it. They also said that other medical examiners was calling the medical examiner that had to do the autopsy on that 8-year-old body to say, did you look for this, that, and that, right? So there's an actual video that police saw that are telling us that this thing is so devastating and horrific that even the cops are having trouble processing it. Do I physically want to see that for myself with my eyes?
I believe in due process. I believe in due process. Let it go to court. Let the truth come out. Let all the facts come out. And then let us see.
Diva, can I chime in real quick?
Chime in real quick, because I'm not, overtime is an understatement, yes, but chime in, and then I'm going to close out.
All right. In our hearts, we're supposed to forgive. The Bible teaches us to do that. The Bible also teaches obey the laws of the land. That's a fact.
Mm-hmm.
So while I can forgive this young girl for what she did spiritually, judicially, via justice, she must pay the price. She must obey the law that says, thou shalt not unalive.
Right.
She must pay, and a court order can be given to ensure that she has mental health therapy. That's the only place she's going to get any type of help, so that she can rehabilitate in 10 or 20 years. And she could get out earlier than 25 years. It's up to the parole board at that point. There is post-remedy relief after your conviction. But until then, this young girl, we can learn about what happened, what's going on in the home, and all the dynamics all in court. The fact is, The evidence speaks for itself. A good defense counsel would say, let's do a plea deal so there wouldn't be no trial. And this young lady can start her sentence and get out within a reasonable time period, like 25 years, so she can try to get a life back. That's all.
I appreciate you. We're going to stay connected to this story. As I close out, I just want to remind people, I'm going to go to this part right here. According to Agee, video surveillance from the inside the bedroom presumably shows Parson, that's the 13-year-old, using bedding in her full body weight to suffocate the 8-year-old. The video captured Parson repositioning Hollingsworth's body under the covers after cleaning blood from her face. Damari was asleep in the bed when she was violently attacked by her cousin, Parson, Agee said. We will continue to work to seek justice for Damari and hold Parson accountable for taking her life. This is a very difficult case for everyone involved, and we ask that you especially keep the family of Damari in your thoughts and prayers. Go ahead, Felicia.
Clearly, there was negligence by the parents, the adults in this household.
Mm-hmm.
Get accountability there.
Mm-hmm.
I don't disagree. Family matters. We told y'all that tonight was going to be rough. And as you see, I always, because this is how it should be. Everybody has the right to their opinion on this subject, and we got to let everybody be heard. I appreciate everybody for standing their ground, saying their opinion, and not backing down, because that's the way a good dialogue has to be. I want to thank y'all for being here. I want to thank y'all for hanging in there with me for this late night train. It's midnight. I can't believe I'm up right now. But thank you, everybody. Have a good night. Hit the like button. I'm going to stay connected to this story. I'll see you on the next video. Good night and goodbye, everybody.
Good night.